Welcome back to the Gaming Grounds channel, the channel that probably should be dead, but nonetheless, I always make sure I leave it open if I ever want to talk about something that I don't want to type paragraphs on within Twitter, or if I just don't want to leave until later on within the show that airs every Sunday at 7 p.m. the Winging It podcast. If you are not subscribed, if you're not sharing, then you're all the way in the wrong. But nonetheless, I wanted to kind of piggyback off of what it was that I was discussing last night. If you didn't see the show, we got into the rumors and the articles that were coming alongside the PlayStation VR2. You have a lot of, I guess, insiders, if you will, saying that, hey, Sony is cutting their pre-orders in half because of the lack of pre-orders, or not necessarily the pre-orders, but they're cutting their shipment in half because of the pre-order or lack thereof output that's coming in or that's being reported. Sony has since then come out and says, hey, none of this is true. This is all false. So it's up to you on whether you want to speculate if it is true or not. If you even care, if you already have yours pre-order, then I'm pretty sure you won't have an issue with this either way. But nonetheless, I wanted to get into this ultimate FAQ that's been provided by PlayStation.blog, right? And it's going to answer some questions that I think we all have, as well as some of the questions that I had and some of the viewers last night on the show. They had these same exact questions, and I saw some answers here, but I thought it'd be a good idea for us to kind of go over some of the main key points of what it is with the PSVR2. So, of course, as we already know, it's set to release on February 22nd of this year at the price point of $550 for just a regular. And then you have the version that comes bundled with Call of the Mountain at $600. And you get your headphones, which are earbuds, the controller, the headset, the whole 9 yards in regards to what you need to actually play with said headset, right? So we'll go a little bit deeper into what are some of the main questions, if you will, that comes along with owning a VR headset from PlayStation, or at least their second headset. So one thing that I wanted to look at as well are the different viewing modes. I know I've spoke about on previous videos to where with the Quest 2, there are, of course, the only VR mode that you have, which is just a standalone VR headset. But there's also things like big screen. You also have immersive virtual desktop, to where you can play other games such as your Switch, your PS5, or what have you, and play those games within your VR headset, and have these environments to where you're either playing on this big screen in a drive-in, you're playing in a home theater, an actual theater, a space station, whatever the case may be. I didn't expect that to be here with the PSVR 2, but I did expect them to kind of have a cinematic mode similar to what they did with the first PSVR, to where you can play non-VR games on a pretty big screen within the game in itself. So it looks like they do have that here with cinematic mode, which it states here, you can view the PS5 system and UI and all non-VR games and media content such as streaming apps on a virtual cinema screen. Content in cinematic mode will be displayed at 1920 by 1080 HDR video format and with 24 to 60 Hertz and also 120 Hertz frame rate. The audio and image will be only displayed on the VR headset, and there is no output on the TV side when you are wearing VR headset and playing in cinematic mode. Now, that is amazing. I like that. You want to be able to play the game. I don't know if you'll be able to actually adjust the screen to make it, huge if you want 120-inch screen, if you want just a 60-incher, whatever the case may be. I don't know if they'll allow you to adjust it, but that's to be seen. I'm pretty sure people are going to run tests and have that answered for us when the system or the headset and stuff comes out. But one thing I say that they missed is this here, right? I'm not a big tech guy in the sense of, okay, I gotta have 4K, I gotta have 8K, gotta run at 120 frames per second. None of that. I don't get into that. But I think this would have been a perfect opportunity for them to provide 4K for those that don't have 4K TVs or can't afford 4K TVs at this point, or don't have the need to switch out right now. Because you could have really just had people play games within this headset on a, let's say, 70-inch screen in 4K in their own space with headphones, and just really had made this super immersive, or just kind of had their own space when they can't afford or be in that situation to even own or purchase a 4K TV I think that was something that was missed, but nonetheless, I mean, it's not a deal breaker, but I think that is missed. When it came down to seeing this question of how you will go and transition between the VR games and the PS5 games, it looks like you can access the control center within the PSVR2 headset, which in turn will allow you to switch between the two. You look at the levels of pre-orders, which I was talking about on the show last night, to where yes, you can purchase within the US, UK, France, Germany, Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg via the PlayStation Online store, but in other markets they have it at participating retailers. And this was something that we were kind of confused by, why Sony wouldn't put these in stores within the US or even in the UK. This is an opportunity for people to kind of see it, ask about it, purchase it if they're not your everyday person that is on Twitter or on YouTube looking into gaming like that. You know, that's kind of how the Quest 2 kind of got its outreach, in the sense of, hey, look, you know, this is available to the masses. This looks cool. I saw it on YouTube. Or, you know, they start doing commercials and they were like, okay, where can I get it? Oh, I saw a stack of them at Best Buy, or I saw a few of them at GameStop, because GameStop now has a section for Quest 2. So there's definitely a need to put it within stores, but maybe they're just gonna kind of get these first little bit out the way, kind of get it to the ones that really care about it, opposed to any type of scalpers or anybody that's just kind of, you know, curious about it. It's going to be those first go around group, the ones that are very serious, the enthusiasts that'll get their hands on it first. But here's an interesting question: can I use the PS Move controller with the PSVR2 or the PSVR aim controller? I don't know why in the world you would want to use the Move controller, but it's a great question to ask, because I'm pretty sure somebody's going to ask it in the sense that they already own a PSVR and they want to kind of carry over their accessories, which Sony states here, no, only the included PSVR2 Sense controllers and the DualSense controller or the DualSense Edge controller for the PS5 are compatible with PSVR2. How many games are in development for the PSVR2? Now, I think this is a very good question that needs to be asked, and I know sometimes this gets a little embellished, because you want to make sure that you speak to the masses and say, hey, look, we're going to continue to support this, and we already have things into development. But being a gamer for so long and being a part of, you know, talking about it or just kind of reviewing it in some type of way, you really start understanding that this number in a way is kind of fluff. Until you see these 100 titles, I wouldn't really take it as gospel, because we've seen it, you know, from the old days to where you had games on the back of the box of the PlayStation or whatever console you had, and some of those games just never showed up. It's the same thing when it comes down to the Wii U event, when they say, hey, we had all these participating third-party companies that were going to come and make these games and blah, blah, blah. They seen it, they loved it, and then they didn't show up. So this is all subject to change, especially when you talk about the lifespan of the PSVR2, because I can imagine some of these titles are dependent on the success of the PSVR2 at a certain time point. It's kind of similar to Nintendo situation. Like, hey, yep, we have these games in development, or we're looking at it, but more or less that's quote unquote saying, hey, we're waiting to see if this is a hit before we actually put something on it, because we really don't want to put anything on it. And that's kind of what you're probably going to see. You're going to see some people take shots at this when you start seeing the attention, the word, and the popularity increase with this thing, if it does, which I hope it does. So this was a question that I brought up last night, but with digital versus physical. And so the answer to that is the PSVR2 will be available in the digital format. Physical disc release for select titles will also be available. So the way I take that is, hey, Resident Evil, if we do something with Spider-Man, if we do something with Wolverine, if we do something with God of War down the line, those will be physical discs, but we're not going to release a physical disc VR only game. I don't foresee them doing that. To me, it wouldn't necessarily make sense. Keep the VR games digital. That's what you're going to have the space for anyway. And then any physical discs will be games that can be done standalone without VR or within VR as well. Okay, so now this question got brought up last night as well about the broadcasting and the capturing. I had no idea. When it comes down to the Quest 2, there is a way to capture. It's not the best way of doing it. Like, you can record within the headset. You can even activate the recording from the app in itself, but it does make certain games take a hit. Like, it does get to the point where it's kind of sluggish. It's the same thing with broadcasting. Like, when you want to stream it to your TV so everybody else can see what's going on, it can take quite a nosedive. Sometimes it freezes, sometimes it just doesn't do it at all. It's just very bad. Like it almost seemed like an afterthought. But in this case, with the PS5 being connected to TV and with this PSVR2 being connected to PS5, that should be a seamless process. But we'll go into the questions that are laid out along with the answers. Can I capture screenshots or gameplay capture of a PSVR2 game session? Yes. The create menu is PSVR2 allows player to capture screenshots and videos just as they do on PS5, but without having to leave VR mode. You can also trim videos and share content with friends without leaving your game. I like that. I like that. Can I share my screen with another player online who is or isn't using PSVR2? Good question. Yes, you can share your screen with another player online. Please note that SharePlay is not available for PSVR2 games. Can I broadcast my PSVR2 playthroughs? A new broadcast feature for PSVR2 will allow you to film yourself while playing by connecting a PS5 HD camera to the console. It's a great way to show your movements and reactions during a boss battle and share your reaction with your fellow gamers as it happens. Now that's interesting. Now I would still say if I'm doing this, I'm not using that camera. I'm probably using my phone or my actual camera to record, go into my laptop or my computer and do it that way. Because honestly, I don't know, how much you're going to be able to store on a PS5, and you don't want to store everything on a PS5 going through that camera. And then also too, the share features. I've seen, a lot of janky looking videos come from the PS5 whenever you share. So I wouldn't do it that way, but it's nice that it's available. I mean, you got to get a start somewhere, right? Do I need to be connected to the internet to play PSVR2 games? Apparently, this is a big issue for people. So they state here, internet connection requirements will vary by title. An internet connection is required to download, purchase games, and software updates. Because what I want to go over real quick, and I don't want this to be too long, but it seems like it's getting to that point anyway. I just want to go over, and this by no means is a bad thing if you don't have a headset already. But for those of us that own a headset, I don't foresee a lot of people double dipping. So I think this is where this could potentially hurt PlayStation, because I don't foresee a lot of people just crossing over for the sake of crossing over due to the fact that this is not a standalone headset. This is something that has to be connected to the PlayStation 5. So if you don't own one or you don't like wires, then a lot of people are not crossing over. So taking a look at this list from what I know, After the Fall, Ulterior Break, Cities VR, Cosmosis High, Creed Rise to the Glory, Demio, you're looking at Job Simulator and Vacation Simulator. Hopefully that's a bundle pack. Jurassic World Aftermath, see The Last Clockwinder, Light Brigade, Moss 2 Pro Era, Pavlov, Pistol Whip, Puzzling Places, Synth Riders, Tentacular, Tetris Effect, Thumper, Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, Retribution, What the Bat, and Zenith. Those are all on Quest 2. And you have a few that are not, but for the PC players, some of these games are here, like Kayak VR Mirage. That is on PC. I'm pretty sure you can do No Man's Sky. When we talk about exclusives, as much as some people don't like them, you kind of need them. And in this case, it looks like they have Gran Turismo, Horizon, the Resident Evil games, and yeah, I mean, you got Song in the Smoke, you got where's the little fire thing? Oh yeah, the Firewall game got pushed back, so I don't think that would be launch window considered at that point. But nonetheless, yeah, I mean, this is what it is, but I'm glad they're answering questions. I mean, granted, this kind of popped up because I'm always looking at VR, so I don't know if this will fall in the face of most. But even that aside, I mean, will I pick it up? I'm still waiting because I want to hear news about the Quest 3. Because if the Quest 3 comes anywhere close to this and I can transfer all my games over, there's honestly no point. Like, there's really no point at that point, because you're not only wireless, but then you still have your library and your stuff looks just as good as it does here. I don't know. There's rumors of Quest 3 popping up this year, probably at a cheaper price point, if not close to the same. So we shall see. But thank you all for your time. Hopefully I've given you all some insight. Sometimes I feel like people don't hear enough about VR, so therefore they don't entertain it, or it's just something that they don't find themselves getting into. And I don't consider myself like a VR content creator. It's just something that I really enjoyed the moment I picked up my Quest 2 and just kind of fell in love with it. But nonetheless, I mean, if you're interested, definitely let me know. If you're purchasing this, let me know down in the comments. If you're not, let me know down in the comments, or come talk to me on Twitter. And yeah, I mean, hopefully see you in VR on either end. But thank you for joining and watching this video. Peace.